A lot of people don't know y'all, so I'll just do so basically, Sky and Brent came to mind first on this land subdivision thing because when I got into real estate, I totally was following these guys around like a creeper trying to figure out what they were doing. They do a lot of finding opportunity to kind of establish the above and beyond value proposition to your clients rather than doing what you're supposed to do. It's finding value and finding, monetary advantage or some other advantage that helps us move forward. And these guys are probably the best in the biz at doing that. So we're super lucky to have them on the call. Sky, if you want to, actually, you guys haven't been in the office a ton. So if you're a new agent and haven't met them, they're OGs. Sky, do you want to drive or you want me to share screen and then you tell me what to do?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to kind of just do a little intro on what this is, why it was put together, what we hope to, get in front of you guys that may not be helpful. And then, Brent's going to run with some stuff and then I'm going to follow up with him or after him rather, and talk a little from a different perspective. But, yeah, I mean, we just, Jeff asked us to do this class and Alex for the most part. And, we got together, Brent and I, and just tried to chat about what we thought was the best way to approach this without, overwhelming you with too much stuff, and just try to hit some main bullet points and really go through that so it would be helpful. So, I mean, the main purpose of this class really is just to teach you guys the best dividing a parcel of land, whether it's a half-acre piece or a 10-acre piece. We're going to try to show you how to do that. And things to look for, dangers, that you could run into, certain things like that. So we're gonna go through all of that. Brent's gonna really try to focus on the city of Asheville, and then I'm gonna follow up with Buncombe counties, and we're really gonna go through how to identify if a parcel can be subdivided as well. So that's probably the hardest part of all this is to be able to look at a piece of land and see what's available without having to hire a surveyor and things like that. And it's really, Brent taught me most of this, so he's really the guy to kind of go through some of that, especially in the city. But that's what we're going to do, and hopefully it'll be helpful.
So one thing I want to just interject for a second. So it's really important when you have these conversations that we're trying to guide our clients and kind of shepherd the process, but we're never making a warranty that it can be subdivided. So the last thing you want to do is, even after you gather all this information, is connect with somebody and be like, oh, I know how to do this for sure. There's an extra 50 grand on the table here. Just be really careful about that. And I'm sure that they're going to touch on that, but no expressed or implied warranties. And implied means trotting onto a lot. Oh, this for sure has extra lots on it, and putting your client in a situation where they're under contract. But I just want to throw that out there because it's something you got to be super careful about.
Definitely.
Yep. As I told Sky about 30 minutes ago, I said, we really could do this class in 3 minutes. It's called Call Your Surveyor, See if it's an extra lot. And dismissed. Goodbye, everyone.
And dismissed. Cool. Bye, guys. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, thanks for showing up. Have a good time.
Let's jump into it. You let me know what I can do to support you on screen shares or websites, and I'll let you guys rock and roll.
Yeah, Brett, do you want me to start? Do you want to?
Yep, start it up.
Well, I think the first thing we really I try to do when we're looking at a piece of property, and whether it's for a buyer or a seller, the biggest or probably the most important thing about this, and why I see a benefit in it, is that it creates more value for the parcel, right? So it's a seller, it's looking to sell something, let's just say it's a third of an acre in Oakley, and it's a house that, has some curb appeal, but needs some work. And you go on a listing appointment with this client, and you walk in the door, and you see probably $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 worth of repairs or updates that need to be done to really get on the market, and you're struggling to get some numbers, one of the ways you can to get some more value is show to a potential buyer that there is an extra lot or two or three, depending on the parcel. And that can really help out a seller client in a lot of ways. So really you approach it from a value, creating value perspective for the client. And that's the same thing for a buyer. If you're going to look at a listing, same thing, same Oakley property, it's listed as one parcel. It's on a third of an acre. And you've got a buyer that may either right away want to split this lot off and sell it and recoup some of the costs they have in, or down the road have that option. It's just creating value for the client. And that's really what this is all about. And again, back to what Jeff was saying, you don't want to say something can definitely be subdivided without making sure that it can be. And Brent's going to really go into what those things are. But that's really the main focus of this. I work with a lot of investors, and I'm an investor myself. So a lot of times I'm the buyer client. So I'm always looking for angles to find some extra lots, so that I can do a spec house or flip a lot to a buyer client of mine that will build a spec house on it, and just look for ways to create value there. So that's the big thing. And the key with any of this is just identifying little signals in your head that these things can be subdivided, because a lot of times, clients don't have any idea what they have. And it just may not be well known. So, those are some things you really want to try to focus on. And again, the city zoning and restrictions are a whole lot different than in the county zoning restrictions. But there's some similarities there. There's also some common signals to look for that you guys can use that I think will be helpful. But I think this is a good time to kind of talk about what the city requires on Brent's side and how he goes through a process when he sees a lot or he's listing something for a client, however, with the city of Asheville. So you want to take it away for a sec?
Yep. Let's go. So yeah, with a client, I think it goes, Sky mentions with clients and making sure there's a value add to their properties. They can pay for remodels, like Sky was saying. Also, for you guys, when you're looking at potentially about an investment. I'll show you one of these that I've done recently. That's what I'm doing is I'm buying the house, but I'm splitting off a lot or two, and that's going to be pretty much the money I put down on the house. So I think probably in the past 10, 15 years, I've bought 10 homes and I've not put any money down because I've sold the lots beside them. So it's another like investment brain as well. Like kind of think on your side when you're looking at listings, like, could this be an extra lot? So kind of what I've laid out here is, and I'm going to go through this. Maybe I might share my screen. What you want to do first is, of course, identify the property and the zoning. And I can send these links out to you so that you can see, where to go to find that zoning and to find out what the zoning means. Jeff, do you want to screen share with me right now, or how do I do that? Let me see. You're on mute. Press your space bar. What are you told to?
I just enabled it, so you can just hit the share button.
Does that work? Is that working? Let's see what we got here.
You got it now.
This is right here. So this is the Muni Code of Asheville. One of the things you can check all the zoning codes on this website, and I can send this website to everybody for you. But what you can do is you can actually see each individual each individual zoning and what the zoning means. So the first thing, let's say I'm gonna use this person's house as a guinea pig, even though I've not asked them. This house was on the market for $225. If I was listing it, I would say, I would have looked at it. I would have said, it's RM6. So I'd go, okay, well, let's go to map layers. Let's go to City of Asheville. Bing. That pops up. So you've got RM6. You see at the bottom left kind of your screen. Now there's an easier way to do this. There's, you know, a lot of new finagled technology that I don't know about, but this is kind of the old school way to do things. So the zoning is RM6. So I'm going to go back. Looks like to me that you could almost get an extra lot in here. And if you go back to the zoning codes in here, let me see how I get rid of you guys over here. Let's go down to RM6. Check it out. RS8s. And RM6 is residential multifamily low density district. So pretty much you need 6,000 square feet, and you need a minimum of 60 feet on the road frontage. Road frontage is a big deal in the city of Asheville. You need, you know, on RS8, RM8, you only need 40 feet. You know, RM6, you need 60 feet. So front setbacks, side backs, we'll talk about that in a second as well. So on here, I would go and measure. And this is just a very general basic thing. Again, this is not showing that it has an extra lot, but that it could have an extra lot. And again, you'd want to tell your seller this, like, look, there's a potential of an extra lot here. And let's look at this further, because if you can split this off, that's worth an extra. Middle of the street's over off Sulphur Springs, Sand Hill, so it's worth what, 80,000, 90,000. So it could turn that house, that $225,000 house, into a $280,000 house pretty quick. So what I would do, just to kind of generally do it, this is again very basic, is I would do the measuring tool right here, measuring tool on GIS. You go from here and just generally go like right there. So right at 80 feet. So in RM6, again, it's 60 feet is the minimum setback. So I can't do it under the RM6 general zoning. Now I'm gonna kind of go forward for a second and then come back, because you can do a flag lot. I don't know if you guys know what a flag lot is in the city of Asheville, but a flag lot is a 20-foot flagpole from the city street that uses the backyard as a lot. So on this property, you could actually do that.
I'm sure if you just look on the map, there's one right across the street, Brent.
Oh yeah, right there. There it is. See this guy right here? Boop, 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 boop. What they did is they got this lot up here. Somebody carved that off, made it just a normal city lot. And they've used this 20-foot flagpole to access this lot. So potentially what you could do here is 60 feet, and then put another 20-foot flagpole in, and then drag that flagpole back here and make that a lot right here. So let me see, go back a little bit.
So the takeaways on that are, number one, we got to go to Muni code to make sure we understand that in the zoning what requirements are there.
That's right. Identify the zoning on Buncombe County, and then go to the Muni code, go through this, make sure that you're hitting it right, make sure you got the right widths on the lots, and make sure there's enough room, of course, for that property to be pulled up. That's kind of just a general quick look at how to get that. What else I've kind of talked about, the base of our start, you know, you identify the property, give yourself 30 days minimum to get through the city approval. 45, of course, order the survey, you know, and while this is just kind of how to get through the basics of getting a city lot split off. And I can send this all to everyone to make sure that we're all, you know, on the same page on how to do that.
I think just to that point with Brent Smith, I mean, this is like anything where, you know, you're not trying to wear a hat as an attorney or a hat as a home inspector. You're certainly not trying to wear a hat as a surveyor. And, you know, you ultimately want to make sure that a surveyor is going to get that approval. But, you know, the point that we're trying to make is this is something that you can identify ahead of time that can really add value. And then knowing these things that Brent just showed you will help kind of get a leg up on, you know, competition and showing your clients that you really know what's going on.
Yeah, big time. I mean, if you can come in and show a seller, like, you know, they're thinking 235, 239 for the house, and all of a sudden you have this flag lot that's worth potentially $60,000, $70,000 more. You know, maybe you list the house for 250, and then you offer the flag lot to the potential buyer for a discounted rate of 30,000, instead of just listing the house at 239 and letting an investor come in and do it themselves.
Yep.
So a couple things to look at here. When you're doing this on GIS, you want to see about sewer lines. There's just kind of a couple extras that you always want to check for. You have to have sewer. There's a bunch of green, and all that green is sewer. So that's good news. You want to check on creeks. You click right here. You can see as this blue line goes, and this is something you need to, again, qualify with a city, qualify with a surveyor. or confirm that this blue line is an actual creek. There are things called just blue lines, and they don't qualify as a creek, but this is a creek, a qualified blue line creek. So you need to stay 30 feet off this creek when you build. So this lot's going to have its disadvantages. I actually didn't buy this house because of these couple things. Sewer lines you have to be 10 feet off of, which is in this muni code also, both sides. So you got a 20-foot area right here you cannot build on.
And
And you've got the creek, which is a 30-foot area. So pretty much this area right here is unbuildable.
one of the things that I had to learn was, and I'll get excited when I see a sewer line as a new agent. That's not always a good thing, because I thought that meant I could connect to it. That does not mean you can connect to it if you see it. It often means that you got a buffer you got to work against. And even if it's there, it may not be big enough for a new house, or you might not be able to connect to it. So just don't pretend to be an expert like Sky says.
That's right. Just what you're doing. I mean, if you're doing this for yourself, do your due diligence, then hire a survey. If you're doing this for a seller, of course, do this for them and show them. This shows them like your value add, and then you hire the surveyor from there to kind of approve it and get going. From there. So again, sewer lines, you got the creek. Whenever I see a creek like this, I always go in and check out the floodplains too. I never remember which one to click. I'm just going to click them all. Boop, 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 just like that. And it's in floodplain too. So I decided not to buy this one. What I was going to do again is I'm going to go back to my investment brain. I was going to sell the lot for $50,000, buy the house for $220, and use that $50,000 to cover the down payment. But with this floodplain in the way, the sewer lines in the way, you got this creek down here. I mean, the area to build is going to be, so minuscule it wouldn't matter. So again, a very general, basic, quick look at a property. Let me show you one. Let me show you one more we're going to do real quick. This is actually one I'm just under contract for. And this is one I think, this agent, and again, we're not talking about, agents, and I'm not even asked if I could do this, but I'm going to go do it anyway. So no one tell. 52 Clinton Avenue. House is listed at 469. I immediately saw like, wait a minute, this looks like a flag lot back here and potentially a flat lot right here. Now I just put a contract on a lot over on Vance Crescent off of Vermont for 125. So I figure this lot's worth probably 110, 120 maybe, which is crazy. It's West Asheville, but it's nuts. And then this flag lot, it's probably worth 75 or 80. So just in these two lots, I'm seeing close to $200,000 worth of value, and they're listed at 450. So I put this one under contract 2 days ago just to try to get these two lots off it, to then cover the down payment for the house to keep the house as a rental. Again, I see the sewer line. This one is zoned. Let's go back to the zoning. There's no stream of creeks anywhere near. We're good there. Let's go to Buncombe County zoning. Excuse me, I'm in the Asheville City zoning. So this one's RM8. So looking good there. RM8s. I'm just going to go all very basic here. Let me drag this over here. RM8 is, survey says, oops. RS8 and RM8 are the same, except for RM8 is residential multifamily. RS8 is residential single family. So for RS8, you need 4,000 square feet of space to build. You need a 40-foot lot width. And then you do have side setbacks on all zonings except for RS2 and RS4 of a front setback of 15 and a side of 6. That means you have to keep your house away from the side or the front and rear setbacks. So on this one, again, I'm just basically doing this. Let's go measure. I'm going to go, and this again is for me, 40. Looking pretty good. And I'm going to go measure again. I'm going to say here to like here. So I need 40 by 90. Does that sound about right for 4,000 square feet? No, 40 by 100. So right to there. So it's going to be a little bit of a weird lot. It could do this, and then it could go like this, whoop, something like that. And then I'm going to get a 20-foot flag lot right here and go all the way back here. So I think what this seller has is a great piece of property. It's a sweet house. It's overpriced in its current shape. It's just too much money for the house. It does need some updates, stuff like that. But if you start kind of looking at it in this eye of, wait a minute, if I could separate these two lots off for this person and get them $200,000 worth of lots potentially, and a $350,000 house we sell, which will sell tomorrow for 350 because it's worth 350, just not worth 460. All of a sudden, you turn this listing price of 450 into 550, 575. That's just kind of a general idea of what Sky is saying about value add and showing, again, your
Brent, before you
sellers.
Stay in there.
Oh, yeah.
We pull up 28 Arden, and I want to go through that in just a second, just because I want to show. We don't need to measure anything like that, but I just kind of want to go through that. But back to one thing, this especially with that 52 Clinton that Brent just showed. There are some. Well, let me say two things. One, Brent using all these measuring tools and all this crazy stuff. For those of you watching that might get a little overwhelmed by that, I still do. I've been doing this forever, and he is amazing his ability to be able to pull that stuff up and look at it. So I always try to defer if we're not working on a deal together. I always try to defer to a professional when it comes to that. And really what he's trying to show is how to identify it early so that you can advise a client one way or the other. But he has this uncanny ability to be able to find these things more than most. So don't feel overwhelmed if you can't do that. There are people that can help you with that process. And again, and I don't know if you mentioned, I got cut off earlier, but cozying up with a surveyor and creating a relationship with them is huge, because sometimes it's just as quick as a phone call. Say, hey, will you look at this for my clients? How many lots do you think we can get? Can we get an extra lot? Can we get two? What's it going to do to the house? And then that's kind of a perfect segue for my next thing I was going to say is that there are some potential risks in chopping a piece of property like that up. What's it going to do to the curb appeal of the house that stays there? What's that yard going to look like that's left? Are you completely ruining this property for a potential buyer that just wants the house? Because, obviously with Clinton there that Brent just showed you, you're losing a backyard. You're losing half of your front yard. Is that going to bring that value of that house down 50 grand, 60 grand, 100 grand? Nothing. I mean, that's really one of the things you got to try to look at as well. So it's not just if there's an extra lot, it automatically creates all this value. You have to look at the whole picture when you're doing that. So I think that's important.
Yep, big time.
You got Arden pulled up. Okay,
yep.
This is one I just bought in Kenilworth, kind of right off Forest Hill there when you first come in, and it's an existing house that needs a ton of work. We got this thing we purchased, I think, for $450-ish. Is that right, Brent? Somewhere in there.
Yep.
So we ended up getting 3 extra lots out of this piece, and I just want you guys to look at that without any measuring or anything like that, and just look at this piece. And do you see 3 lots there plus the house? So a total of 4 lots on this piece of property. We're going to build 3 spec homes and have the house by itself. And just looking at that small piece of land, 0.6 of an acre, we're getting 4 total lots, 3 vacant lots. And, we're going to do spec homes on that. So it's something as, just looking at that GIS, just like that, it's like, oh, this is hard to imagine we can get this many lots. But we were able to do it. And that's back to getting with a surveyor that knows what they're doing. They were able to manipulate these lots so that we hit our minimum square footage zoning. We did our sewer availability, we did our water availability. And by the way, just pulling those green lines up on the GIS doesn't do it. You still have to MST for sewer availability and get that allocation done. And the same with the city of Asheville for water. Did you talk about that already, Grant? I got cut off.
No, nope.
Go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you still need to get that verified with the municipalities on the water and the sewer. This is just a good starting point that Brent was showing you with the measuring tools, seeing if something's in a floodplain, seeing if water's there, seeing if sewer's there, those types of things. And I don't know if you talked about this either, and I apologize, but the elevation of this lot, this one brought us right on the cusp of the steep slope ordinance, right? So if you looked at this steep slope ordinance on this piece of property, it actually was just above, or higher is probably a better way to put it, than we needed to be able to subdivide this property. So what we ended up doing was we got our surveyor out there to shoot the elevation to verify that the numbers were correct per the county, and they weren't. So by doing that, we were able to prove that it was actually within a range that we could subdivide this property, and we got it all approved based on that. So there's a lot of different ways to go through this, but ultimately without the surveyor, none of this happens, period.
That's right. This guy's talking about, yeah, me breezing through these things. I mean, I can see 4 lots just kind of as I'm looking at it. I see 4 lots, one here, kind of maybe oblong, and then one right here ish, somewhere in there, something like that. But yeah, again, what I'm doing on these measurements is it's just very basic and very like, okay, I see 3 lots here, surveyor, can you help me with this? Are there 3 lots here? And normally they can usually give about a day, and they can look through deeds and plats and old things and say, yeah, I see 3 lots as well, but I've got to get in the field to do it. So it is a very general, just look at it and say, oh yeah, I can see a lot or 2 here, definitely.
Again, I never saw 4 there. Brent saw it from the beginning. I never saw it until it was approved with the city, honestly. So that's the difference, and that's kind of refreshing. I think if you're looking and sitting in this class and saying, oh my gosh, I'll never see that. I still don't. Again, I've been doing it forever. So it's one of those things, until you really spend the time looking at it, and getting somebody to verify, you won't truly know, unless you're Brent Allen. It's nobody's Brent Allen.
Never again. Let's go back to slope. Let's go some pitfalls. So this guy mentioned slope. I mentioned creeks, being 30 feet off the creek, sewer lines, 10 feet off both sides. Sky mentioned slope. To look at a slope, and again, general of looking at it, and then getting a surveyor to get a topo done to make sure the exact slope of a property. You can do a couple different things, actually. I'm going to go back here for a second. Let me see. Go back here. Let's see. We're going to go look at the slope tool. I'll send you all these websites so you can have all these things around. Let me see, slope for a parcel. Can I click on that maybe? Let's do that. Let's copy that one. Copy, I'm gonna put that in here. I'm gonna paste it. Boop. All right, so I'll send you this website as well. You can get a quick look at a parcel slope by just putting in the PIN number of the property. So I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna copy and paste this thing. I'm going to put it in right there. And website magic. So maximum elevation is 2275 on this property. The percent slope is 20%. So in my notes, and again, this is just a quick look. You can go back in that MuniCode website I was looking at, but you can see the steep slope ordinance here in Nashville. We do have a steep slope ordinance. Anything above 20 feet in elevation and has a grade of 15% or more does have to go with a steep slope ordinance, and that really reduces your footprints and building capabilities. So always check that out. A county that's a little different. County's actually steep slope is above 2,500. But again, I'll send this website up for you. It's a pretty cool one just to check real quick. You can also, of course, on GIS, if this stupid thing won't get out of here. You can also do map layers and 5 footers. Have a Jamba, and now you can kind of see the contours of the land, and you see 2275, and then you go a little further down, it's 2250. Anyway, another good thing to use, so you can make sure that if you have a sewer line, let's say right here, and you're trying to put a house right here, and there's no sewer line at the bottom right here, this is going up. So I mean, you can pump crap up, but you need a pump. So it's a little different. It's going to be more cost, a little harder. Just we're gonna remember that kind of thing. So I know the pitfall.
Share your screen again. Sorry.
Yeah,
Reshare your screen. We can't see it.
Oh, reshare it. Let me see how
Yes.
I do
Let me see your big head.
that. Oh, hold on. There we go. Boop. There me see. Would that work?
Yes.
Yes. So map layers, 5-foot contours. That shows you the contours of the land.
So, and again, I mean, those numbers, what Brent showed on that were not accurate. So
Yeah.
we paid to, when they're really close, a lot of times, they're not accurate because they're just rushing through these numbers. And anytime you're looking at a topographic map from Buncombe County, it's more than likely not right. So you always want to get a surveyor to really do a true topo on it. That'll really, they're going to defer to what the surveyor shows as opposed to what they have, which is nice.
Yep. A couple side notes for the city. When you get the surveyor done, surveyors are really busy right now. If you're going to order a survey on a piece of property in the city right now, it's probably, 3 to 4 weeks out minimum just to get the survey done. Let's just say 4 weeks. When you submit that to the city, once you say, okay, I've got an extra lot or I've got 2 extra lots, the minimum time the city's going to get back to you is 7. And that's if you know somebody. Normally it's going to take 15, 25, 30 days. And that depends on the planner of the day, how happy they are that week. So if you're looking to survey and subdivide a city lot in Asheville, you need just say 60 days. It might get done in 45, but it's going to take about 60 days to get everything approved and done by the surveyor and then the city of Asheville.
Which adds time. Everybody wants things done quick and fast, and anytime you're dealing with government, especially here, whether it's county or city, it just takes longer. They're awful for getting these surveys approved quickly, even though you're basically once you've hired a surveyor and somebody that knows what they're doing, they're putting this on a silver platter for the city, and they don't even pick it up for right now for a few weeks. So it's something to think about when you're setting expectations with your clients, whether it's a seller or a buyer client, that this will take some time to get full approval, which is what you want always. So
That's right. I mean, that's good on my side in the city of Asheville. Scott, what else you got for us? Anything?
We can talk a little bit about county zoning if you guys want to go into that. It's different in terms of utilities, things like that. And a lot of times with the county, you're looking at potential well and septic setbacks that you have to introduce, but like for like, you're still looking at zoning codes, similar setbacks, things like that. Probably the biggest difference with county and city, are your utilities. If you've got city water, but you've got a septic tank on a piece of property, that's change your density, big time. You've got, anybody that's done this business and understands septics and dealt with the permitting process, whether you're subdividing or not, they take up a lot of space, and they have to be a certain amount of feet away from a well. They have to be a certain amount of feet away from the house. And then you have to have repair fields for those septics. So those can really eat up a lot of land when it comes down to looking at subdividing a piece of property like that. And the same with well. Wells are, they're less and less common unless you're really getting pretty far out these days. So most places, especially in Buncombe County now, have city water at the very minimum, but you can run into that. I think those are probably the biggest differences. Everything else, there's some small changes, like Brent said, with the slope in the county compared to the city. I think the county's at 2,500, city's 22. So there's some differences there. And then, like anything else, just with the city, with an RM8 compared to an RS4 zoning code, you've got R1, 2, and 3 in the county. You could run into some open use zoning in the county where you can put 1 million trailers and whatever you want. So things like that is just understanding the differences between the zoning codes and what those setbacks look like. But again, the biggest difference are probably just utilities at that point and some different standards. But that's all stuff you guys can can find pretty easily.
So y'all, I think we should save a few minutes for questions for sure. But if I'm an agent, I go out to a house and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of dirt here. I wonder if this can be subdivided. What would your like advice be as far as process? Like, what are the steps before you start running around telling everybody that they have extra lots, or like what would you guys recommend for agents that maybe aren't as familiar as y'all are, other than call you and give it to you?
I was gonna say, I think the best bet is just to call me, and I'll do it for you real quick. I mean, really, I mean, I think that really, I mean, with Keller Williams, we share everything. I think as a new agent, if you're even a new agent, it could be 5 years in. I mean, I still help Sky every day. So I think even as an experienced agent, if you call somebody that knows, I mean, Sky can do this, I can do this. Jeff actually has got a pretty good eye for it these days as well. I think you can call one of us and say, hey, look, I haven't said anything to the seller, but I think there could be a potential extra lot or two here. What do you think? Can you help me through this real quick? I think that's probably the best option. I mean, we can do it like a better in-person class as well, when really go through the steps so we can detail the steps out of how to just get an eyeball of it. But I think that's your best bet to begin with as a new agent.
Yeah,
or then call your surveyor.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Brent is. Yeah, I mean, I'd start with one of us. Again, Jeff too. Jeff's good at looking at that, and at the very minimum, we can look at a piece and say, hey, this has got some potential. Let's start going through and see if there are things that will keep it from being subdivided. So we're always, like Brent said, we start with everything looks great when you first pull it up, and we are doing our best to dig up reasons not to purchase a piece of property or not to tell a client that it has an extra lot. So we're doing everything we can, like the floodplain that he showed you, or sewer line running right through the middle of the property, things like that. We're doing everything we can. So we could go through that pretty quickly with you and then say, okay, now it's time to, talk to your client about the potential here. Now it's time to see if they're willing to engage a surveyor. And you can go to a surveyor and say, what would your cost be to do this? And then be armed with that when you go back to your client. I think those are probably 1A and B to start that process. If you're new to this, whether it's a new agent or whatever, if you're new to this, that would be a recommendation. If you want to do it on your own, you've got some good tools here that Brent showed you, some good bullet points that hopefully we've laid out that can help you out. And if you've got any questions, we can certainly try to help with that. And
yeah, I think one of the things I've seen a lot, I think, Jeff mentioned, what's the first thing? It's frontage. In the city of Asheville, frontage is a big deal. I mean, if you don't have frontage for the lots, then you can't do anything. I've had a ton of clients over 20 years say, they're in they're in South Asheville or they're in, West Asheville, whatever it is. They've got 3 acres on Johnson School Road. And they're like, man, my 3 acres is worth like $500,000 an acre because I got 3 acres, RM8, but their frontage is 38 feet. Now, could they make it a subdivision? Potentially, but what they're thinking is, I'll just lot the thing up and just make 10 lots. So frontage is a big deal. You got to have frontage on side streets on a main thoroughfare of some sorts.
You showed what frontage was, correct?
Yeah. If you don't have the frontage, you don't have any. You don't have the extra lots.
That's awesome. And Brent, you said you'd be willing to put together those links.
Oh yeah, I'll throw all the links together and send those out. Yep.
Yeah, and then I'll make sure that those get distributed, or we'll do a Google Drive or something.
Perfect.
I think that'd be good. Questions? You guys are ready for some questions?
Shoot.
I have a bunch of questions, but one of them is like, as an investor and a realtor, and say you have a person that's probably going to hire you to list, and there might be some other lots there, but you might be interested in buying it. At what point do you say to them, when do you talk realtor, when do you talk investor?
Yeah, that's a good one. And I'm sure Sky and Jeff can do that too. Now I've got a buddy, Thomas Wolf, who's an investor. He is a strict investor. He's like, I'm going to get my license one day, but he doesn't want to get his license because of this kind of thing. As a realtor, you've got to uphold your ethics. And if you see extra lots that are valued more and can make more money, you have to go at it that route. Now, some sellers will come in and say, you know what, I don't want to wait 60 days and try to split 4 lots off and try to do this. That's when you could potentially step in as that. But for your first realtor, for your first hat is the realtor hat.
And you have to be really careful with that if you're an investor as well. In the past, I've literally said, as a realtor, here's where I believe your value to be, and I think there's potentially a couple lots here. As an investor, I'd be willing to purchase them for X, but I believe your value to be up here. But you gotta be careful.
You be careful, and I think what saves you in that scenario, it's a great question, by the way, because it's something that comes up, and I think especially if you're trying to invest. But I think it's like they both said, that the sort of get out of jail free card, for lack of a better term, is, you always tell your client, hey, it's worth this much on the open market. I like to use that phrase, and I can get you more money if we listed it and did it this way. Here's an option to do it quicker, less pain, and probably find a cash investor, somebody that knows what they're doing to go through this process, so we don't have to. Again, get you more on the open market, but here are both scenarios. Think about it, ask me what you need to, and let me know which way you want to go, and leave it up to them to decide without pressuring a client to feel like you're trying to give them a lower price than it's actually worth on the open market. But it's a tricky scenario, but that's a great question.
No.
It's not against the rules.
No one else? Surely there's questions.
I have a question. You said if you don't have frontage, you don't have the extra lot. Just, could you elaborate on that? And
Sure.
and then can you ever stack a flag lot?
No, it's one flag lot. Go to flag lots first. One flag lot per property, per the time you subdivide it. So you can't do 2 flag lots on a piece of property. You used
Okay.
to, and then they ended that probably a couple years ago. Frontage. So you look. I was showing you. We can do the share screen again if we need to. But the RM6 or RS8, you need 40 feet of frontage in RM8 or RS8 to get an extra lot off the house or off the lot. So if you don't have that extra 40 feet, you either have to go flag lot or you don't have an extra lot. Now, I'm kind of talking ahead of myself, because you could always, let's say you had a house, again, 3 acres, Johnson School Road, and it had 45 feet of frontage, and it's RM8. That's great. You could get a ton of extra lots in there, but that's a whole nother ball game. You tear the house down, you drag a road in, you drag sewer in, you drag water in. That's $300 to $400 a foot times 800 feet. So the frontage is the first thing to look for in an extra lot. Just a pure, simple extra lot, not a subdividable, not a subdivision, that kind of thing.
Okay, thanks.
I have another question. You talked a couple times early on, Brent, about the down payment with those extra lots. You'd use the lot money for the down payment. What
Yeah.
order do those things happen?
Oh, it's the the Texas two-step shuffle. It's tough. You've got to either have cash or, I guess with a down payment, go like private money. So again, you need to let the seller know what you're doing. This house I was showing you on Clinton is vacant. It's an estate. She's like, it sounds like you want to, and I told her, I was like, look, I want to get an extra lot out of this, or 2. And so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to survey. I just ordered the survey today. And I called my surveyor. They should be out in 3 weeks, and then they're going to get it and see if it's ready. Now, she's got a bunch of DD money, and I've got about 38 days worth of inspections. So if I can get those lots done in that amount of time and then submit it to the city, at closing, I'll have 2 extra lots, of course, with the seller approval and that house. So I've got a ton of buyers for lots in the city. So if I can show them 2 lots that I've got in West Asheville and say, hey, give me $80,000 a lot, and you close behind me, or you close soon after me. If I put on 450, if I put $90,000 up to close the loan, I'll get that money back from the lots. I'd have to like really sit down with you and like show you that. It's it's a shuffle a bit, because you have to like make sure you're doing things in order, but it can work out pretty well.
And one other totally different question. Say there's an existing subdivision and you want to use a driveway to get to a lot on a piece of land behind it, let's say, like if there's some land available behind, this may be too out there to answer today, but how can changes get made in previous subdivisions to be able to access part of a lot behind? Like we talked about the flag lot, but can you do that through a whole nother piece of property to access, say, an upper part of a lot, for example? just to open up the
Would
access point.
would this be in the city of Asheville or the county?
Montgomery County.
Sky does more subdivision stuff. What do you think?
Well, so explain that a little bit better. So you're wanting to access, explain that a little better. So I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so there's some access, some frontage road on a piece of property, but the property is long and deep and gets wider towards the back. There's a lot for sale off another access road that has a subdivision, and in that subdivision allow one house to be built on a lot. But I'm wondering if access or driveways can be built through that lot to access the back part of this original property.
Is it two different owners?
Could be the same, could be bought. It's available to
Yeah.
buy. Mhm.
So, I mean, then you could combine them and then have that frontage and it'd be contiguous. I don't know. I mean, when you start getting into, easements and stuff like that, that does not count as ownership, right? So you could do a road easement, but you'd have to, that gets a little tricky. It's better if it's owned by one person and you can get that road frontage that way. If you're just looking for access.
We lost him. He was shot down by the owner of that lot.
It's that Grove Park charter.
Um,
Am I back?
yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry. How far did I get? Grove Park. Oh my gosh, my internet's not doing too well.
Laura, something to be careful of is access easement to the subdivision. So it's typically for the exclusive benefit of the said lot that would be in the subdivision. So you have to be careful if using that as an access point. It may not qualify as access to the subdivision. The subdivision may not qualify to let you.
Right. That's right. That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
Okay.
So that's an attorney, like Sky was saying, that's an attorney thing through and through. But I haven't seen good luck with that I've actually tried to do that before and it didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's a private road within the subdivision, you actually have to get permission from all the owners within that subdivision, which
That's right.
compounds the headaches.
Okay. That helps you guys. Thanks.
Cool. Any other questions? So if I would say seems to be good interest on this. If y'all do want a more in-depth dive into this rather than the 30,000 foot view, if you want to like specifically look at county or city and kind of go through how to use the tools and what that looks like, I think we probably could wrangle these guys to do that again. As a recap, your surveyors and your civil engineers are probably your best asset on this stuff because they're able to sit down and take easements and lot lines and all those components and put them together to help advise you on it. But
Can I ask a mechanical question? Hi, it's Monica.
Yeah.
Brent, what's your email address? I guessed at it and I sent you an email, but I'm not sure if it's right.
It's Brent at theallenteamasheville.com.
Oh, I totally missed that. Okay.
I've got like 14, but that's probably the
Okay.
cleaned up one.
Yeah, because I mean, to Jeff's point, my question is pretty basic. I mean, I live in Kenilworth and there's a lot that a neighbor's asked me to represent them and find, it's just a different talk track, but to find the owner, is it worth anything? What's it worth? I see on the tax card it says, so I'm in the soup on that.
Yeah.
And I want it. And so I sent you the pin and I'm like, okay, Yoda, teach me.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine. I'll send the email out to everybody so they can have it. And if you ever see a property that you're like, you're listing or you want to buy, that we'll look at it and we'll check it out and I can show you what it looks like. And yeah,
I get neighbors all the time. Like there's two empty properties here on Wyoming and Dalton and one on McLean up by Bowcatcher Heights. And they're just sitting there and there are, groundhogs living in them. And I have neighbors asking me, how do I get, that's kind of a where to start question for me.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I can definitely help with that.
Monica,
I definitely don't mind, like Jeff was saying, maybe the next couple weeks, maybe right after the New Year's, I'll come in the office and we can just go over the mechanics. We can all just like sit down and like go over each thing on the GIS and look at it.
It's kind of like Willy Wonka. And
yeah, exactly. That'd be fun. I mean, I'll definitely do that.
people walk around and go, I want that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if it's worth anything or what to do with it, but I'm real.
That's awesome.
I think the added benefit on this is I know Brent and Sky actually do investing themselves. So if y'all need help with this kind of stuff, they
Yeah,
can.
great.
And there's always an opportunity that one of us would be the investor that would come in and do that. So you kind of got a twofold approach and get a little guidance.
Cool.
And then if you need somebody, we can either point you in directions of people that may be interested or might be interested ourselves. So it kind of.
Great.
There you have it. That was the ploy the whole time. We were just trying to
Send us your lots that you want, that you think are worth anything. We'll lend you at a modest 20%.
It's awesome.
Thanks
I
so
have
much.
I have a quick question. Before I was at KW, I was the buyer's agent for a lot in Kenilworth that was part of a bigger piece. And I ended up talking to the daily planner a lot because I didn't know any of this. I mean, they were really kind and very, very helpful. Do you guys usually avoid bothering them, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of like appraisers. I think 19 years later, I have a love-hate relationship with appraisers, with insurance agents, and with the day planners for the day of City of Asheville. So it depends on how their mood. If their favorite team in NFL won on Sunday, on Monday they're going to be in great shape. By Thursday, though, right around Wednesday, Thursday, the planners usually get kind of cranky, so you're not going to hear from them until the next Monday. They are really good access. I'm kind of kidding. I'm half kidding, half not. They're really good access point for information, though. They'll really help you through things.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Cool. All right. If we don't have anything else, we'll get something on the calendar to kind of do a deeper dive on it. And for sure, I want to thank Brent and Sky. I almost forgot your names because I never see you anymore. That was awesome. I think it was super helpful.
Any questions, any more stuff, just shoot me an email. I'll put my email address in there, and one of us will get back to you.
Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. That was
All
awesome.
right.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks so much.